Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Don't let everybody say it all at once. Good evening.
Good evening.
And I want to wish all of you a happy new year. For those of you who do not know me, because we have a few new members here, I'm Ingrid P. Lewis Martin. I am the Senior Advisor to Brooklyn Borough President Eric L. Adams. On the dais, joining me is my colleague, Richard Berrick, who is the Director of Land Use, and my Executive Assistant, Keisha Humphrey. Before we actually open the meeting up, I will ask everyone to just stand up quickly and briefly introduce yourself. So we'll start with our council member. And before you speak, please note, we always speak into the mic. So we'll pass the mic along. Thank you. You can take it out.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Lori Cumbo. I'm the City Council member representing the 35th District, which is Fort Greene, Clinton Hill, Prospect Heights, Crown Heights, and parts of Bedford-Stuyvesant. Pleased to be here, and I'm so happy that in the new year you all have joined us, and I just want to wish everybody a happy new year, happy holidays that everyone has recently celebrated, and I look forward to another 4 years of working with you all to accomplish great things. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but we can hold the applause till the end, because we have one thing on the agenda, so we want to keep it moving. Yes.
Happy New Year, everyone. My name
Happy
is
New
Kim
Year.
Robinson, and I'm representing Alika Ampry Samuels from the 41st District.
Ms. Alika Samuel is Council Member Samuel. She's newly elected, so we want to welcome you.
Robert Paris, District Manager, Brooklyn Community Board 2, representing Shirley A. McRae.
Alvin Burke, Chairman of Community Board 14, representing Alvin Burke, Chairman of Community Board 14.
Teresa Scavo, Chairperson, Community Board 15.
You can take the mic the other way because there's one there. Richard, thank you.
Richard Flatteau, Chair, Community Board 3.
Greetings. Joy Simmons, representing City Council Member Inez Barron from the 42nd District, representing East Brooklyn area.
Sam Shimon Rinkowski, CB13.
No, let him pass that one. All right, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Kalman Yeager, representing Kalman Yeager and the good people of the 44th District.
He also is a newly elected council member, so we welcome you.
Good evening, Janice Morgan, Chairperson of Brooklyn Community Board 16, which is Ocean Hill and Brownsville.
Thank you. Pass the mic down. Hello.
Hello. Good evening. Musa Moore, Chair of Community Board 9.
Good evening, Cesar Zuniga, Chair of Community Board 7.
Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Brian Ellicott, representing Councilmember Carlos Menchaca from Council District 38.
Hello, everyone. Annie Levers from Councilmember Brad Lander's office.
Good evening, Eric Feinberg, representing Councilman Mark Traeger, 47th District.
Najani Granville, Chairperson, Community Board 8.
Good evening, Michael Toomey, representing Councilmember Jamani Williams, 45th District.
Good evening and Happy New Year. Glomani Bravo Lopez, representing Councilmember Stephen Levin, 33rd Council District.
Okay, thank you, everyone, and again, welcome to all of the new council members and the representatives of our new council members. I want to just thank everyone for being timely, and we actually have quorum, so I want to give you all a round of applause. We're starting the new year off correctly, and let's stay on that accord. If we have quorum and we're on time for all of our meetings, we'll do something nice at the end of the year. How about that? A little incentive. Okay. So we have one agenda item, and on the agenda tonight we have a resolution on 1555 Bedford Avenue submitted by the New York City, the Economic Development Corporation for the disposition pursuant to Section 38B4 of the New York City Charter of city-owned property located at 1555 Bedford Avenue, Block 1274, Lot 1. But before we handle that item, we want to do the minutes. We want to just go through the minutes to make sure that they're adopted. The minutes for December. Did we also adopt the minutes for November? Because we didn't have quorum in December. So although it's not on this agenda, and I just noticed it, we're going to see if we can adopt 2 minutes with 2 minutes with one vote. Is that legal and permissible? Okay, we better not. So let's first do the minutes for December 2017. The copies of those minutes were sent to all of the board members, and I just wanted to know, do we have someone to make a motion to adopt the minutes? Motion to approve by Richard, motion to second by Teresa for November 2017. All those in favor? Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? Okay, one abstention? Okay, well, there's your abstention because you didn't read them. Okay, fine. So we have one abstention, but the motion carries with one abstention. The second is the adoption of the minutes for December 2017. May I have someone please make a motion to adopt the minutes?
Motion to adopt.
All right, Teresa Scavo made the motion to adopt, please.
A second.
Okay, Musa Moore is seconding. I will just wanted to remind everyone that when you speak into the mic, please say your name so that we know who you are. I happen to know Teresa and Musa, so I could do that courtesy. So may we have a vote? All of those in favor of adopting December minutes 2017, aye? Aye. Against? Abstentions? Okay, so the motion carries with one abstention. Councilmember Calman-Diego abstained to both November and December. Now, we can move, excuse me? Oh, wait a minute. My trusted assistant told me that we didn't do October either, so let's do October. May I please have a motion to adopt the minutes for October 2017? Please speak into the mic.
Motion to adopt the minutes, Brian Ellicott, Councilmember Menchaca's office.
Thank you. May I have someone second? Could someone please second? You got to speak into the mic.
Teresa Scavo, CB 15, seconds the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor to adopt the minutes for October 2017, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we have one abstention, assembly member who would not speak into the mic, Calman-Diego. You have a mic, they have to pass the mic. Pass the mic. Okay, so.
Calman-Diego abstains.
Thank you. So we have one abstention, assembly member Calman-Diego. All right, but the motion carries. So again, I want to thank each of you for coming timely, and I'm really happy that we have quorum and that we can get things on the agenda. So tonight's first agenda item is to authorize the disposition of city-owned property pursuant to City Charter Section 384B-4 through the Economic Development Corporation for property located at 1555 Bedford Avenue, Block 1274, Lot 1, in Crown Heights, section of Community Board 9, to ultimate lease by BFC Partners or related affiliate BFC for a lease to construct approximately 542,393 square feet mixed-use development, including an approximately 67,752 square feet recreational facility, approximately 71,619 square foot of commercial, community, and event space, approximately 415 mixed income residential apartments, and approximately 118 parking spaces. Representatives of BFC Partners and the Economic Corporation are here tonight. Where you at? Raise your hand. Hey. Hi. And will be available to take questions from the Borough Board members after the presentation. So we want to welcome John Valadores. Did I say your name properly? So we want to welcome you from BFC. Come, we're welcoming you. And John Corcoran from EDC. Please come to the podium and state your name and title for the record.
John Valadares, Development Associate, BFC Partners.
Good evening, John Corcoran, Vice President of Real Estate Transaction Services at EDC.
Excellent. So before I open up the floor to the Borough Board members or their representatives, I turn the floor over to my colleague, Richard Berrick, and he will work in partnership with our presenters this evening. So after you hear from our presenters, the floor will be Richard's.
Okay, great. Thank you all. Honorable members of the Brooklyn Borough Board, my name is John Corcoran, as I said, and I work at EDC. And I'm here today to provide a brief background of the proposed redevelopment of Bedford Union Armory. And then shortly I'll introduce the development team who will present more details. So Bedford Union Armory is at the intersection of Bedford Avenue and Union Street in the Crown Heights neighborhood of Brooklyn, and it was constructed in the early 20th century to house the Troop C Cavalry Unit of the National Guard. But when military operations ceased in 2011, the federal, state, and city elected officials all pressed the city and state to look to redevelop this vastly underutilized asset to support the community and really provide a valuable community asset. So in response, in 2013, the state relinquished control, and EDC, on behalf of the city, issued a request for proposals for redevelopment. And in that request for proposals, it was sought to deliver community-serving uses, preserve the historic character, incorporate sustainability, and create jobs for local residents. Prior to selection for that RFP, EDC and local elected officials co-hosted roundtable discussions with leaders from 23 local organizations and hosted 2 public meetings with approximately 250 community members in attendance. So based on this outreach, EDC negotiated with respondents to the RFP and sought a project that would reflect those community priorities that we heard in the outreach. And those priorities were a ground lease structure that would keep the community space on a ground lease to maintain city ownership and guarantee ongoing community benefits, a large recreation facility and auditorium with flexibility to accommodate the neighborhood's diverse needs, and run by a capable and neutral operator. 3, housing units spanning a wide range of income bands and unit sizes. And 4, an emphasis on historic preservation and neighborhood context. So based on that input and negotiations with the respondents, in 2015, EDC and local elected officials announced the selection of BFC partners because their proposal best responded to the needs of the community. EDC included a variety of accountability mechanisms in the legal documents with BFC to ensure that they uphold their commitments to construct, maintain, and operate the facility as promised. In November this past year, the project received ULURP approval, and we thank Councilmember Cumbo for her hard work on this project and the changes that she requested to strengthen and improve the project for the community, including changing that no portion of the site would be sold to enable the development of for-sale condominium units. Instead, the city will maintain ownership of the entirety of the property and ground lease to BFC. Further, the city agreed to increase and deepen the affordability of the housing significantly, increasing the number of homes affordable to those below 60% AMI from 67 to 250. In the drill hall and the head house, the annual required community benefits were increased by more than double, from $500,000 to more than $1.25 million. And these thresholds will escalate each year. And also 50% of the memberships, and at least 250 of them, will be reserved at discounted rates for local community members and families in need of financial assistance. Additional terms are included in the memo that's been circulated, and happy to answer any questions you have at the end. But for right now, I thank you for your time and turn it over to John Valadares from BFC to talk through the particulars of the project.
Good evening. My name is John Valadares. I'm a development associate with BFC Partners. I'm just going to give a brief overview of the project. Our partners for this project are Canva, a nonprofit operating out of Brooklyn, and Marvel Architects. The current Bedford Union Armory, completed in 1907, consists of several components that we will refer to during the presentation. The historic original structure consists of three parts: the drill shed, with its iconic barrel vaulted ceiling, the 3-story head house facing Bedford Avenue, and the former stables along President Street. The fourth and final component of the project, of the original building, is the maintenance garage closest to Rogers Avenue, which was not constructed at the same time as the original structure. We are proposing to convert the 1907 built armory into a mixed-use development. The armory's restored drill shed and head house will be converted into a recreation and community facilities that will collectively benefit tens of thousands of Central Brooklyn residents. This includes a year-round, accessible, state-of-the-art recreation center, 415 new units of quality housing, including 250 affordable homes, community office, event, and educational space. The concept of a recreation center on this site dates back to Congressman Major Owens, who was a strong proponent of the Armory into a recreation center to address Central Brooklyn's longstanding struggles with public health and fitness issues, as well as high rates of violence that have plagued the area. We have heard from many community members who strongly support the recreation center for these reasons, namely that Crown Heights residents require more accessible, quality athletic space, and that more young people in the neighborhood need a safe place to go after school and to continue developing athletic, educational, and community-oriented skills. Under the proposal, the Armory would be conveyed under a 99-year ground lease and allow us to provide up to $1.75 million of annual community benefits. These community benefits will come in many different forms, including free or discounted access to the recreation portion of the project, sports and recreation programming for youth and senior citizens, or deeply discounted office space to local nonprofits that provide education, cultural, and advocacy services to the local community. Our proposal would outfit the iconic drill hall with 3 full-size basketball courts, multi-sport surfaces capable of accommodating countless sports and recreation needs, and a 6-lane, 25-meter swimming pool. The facility will be managed by CAMBA, a nonprofit organization serving Brooklyn since 1977. In addition to CAMBA, we have also hired a director of operations to run the recreational component of the project. Eric Widlin, who's here with us tonight, joins us with extensive experience having run the Boys and Girls Clubs of New Rochelle. Just as impactful as the recreation center is the proposed community facility space in the head house, which will be preserved and used as a hub for nonprofits in the neighborhood. Our proposal features a flexible community meeting space capable of accommodating up to 500 individuals, and also features a significant amount of much-needed office space for nonprofits serving Crown Heights. These nonprofits provide important cultural, educational, and advocacy services to their constituents, including many thousands of local residents from vulnerable and underserved populations. To date, some of the key proposed tenants include the West Indian American Carnival Association, the Brooklyn Community Pride Center, Ifatayo Cultural Arts Academy, and Digital Girl, Inc. All 4 of the organizations I mentioned do not have permanent homes or facilities to meet the needs of their constituents. Instead, they currently work from their kitchen tables, pay high rents in commercial storefronts, or operate in makeshift or borrowed spaces. The Armory will be a permanent home to these nonprofits at a very low rental rate of $6 per square foot. The final component of the project is the housing component, which will be spread across 2 proposed mixed-use, mixed-income rental buildings, which will bring 415 new housing units to Crown Heights. At least 60%, or 250 units of housing, will be income-restricted affordable housing regulated by the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development. The income tiers, which are reflective of local housing needs, range from formerly homeless families to families earning up to 60% of the New York City AMI, and are represented in the table here. This table also shows the AMIs proposed, but also shows the revised housing program, the former program, which included the former condominiums, which were part of the changes during the ULURP process. As you can see here, the affordable levels have dropped dramatically, and there was a 40% increase in the number of affordable units, rising from 177 to 250 units. In addition to the recreation, community, and affordable housing program at the Armory, there were also significant preservation and sustainability achievements. The proposed development will preserve 85% of the historic Armory structure, and we have entered into a letter of resolution with the New York State Historic Preservation Office and the New York City Landmarks Commission outlining our preservation efforts. In terms of sustainability and resiliency, we have committed to achieving LEED Silver or better on the residential building. This will include elements that you typically find in other LEED buildings, including low-flow faucets, energy-efficient appliances and lighting, more effective windows, and insulation. In addition, we are proposing solar panels on the roof of the rental building and an on-site cogeneration plant that will supply the entire project with electricity and hot and chilled water for heating and air conditioning. The final aspect that I'd like to speak to you about today is our commitment to working with minority and women-owned businesses and hiring locally. We are committed to supporting the growth and development of MWBE contractors and to hiring locally from the community. We have set a goal of 25% MWBE utilization for construction and have committed to using NYC's Hire NYC program for local hiring, both during construction and for the ongoing operations of the center. All employees will be paid a living wage, and we have reached an agreement with the 32BJ Building Service Workers Union to provide building service jobs for the housing portion of the project. We've also hired a third-party consultant very early in the development process to assist us in achieving these goals. Manny Burgos is the principal of By the Numbers Consulting, a leading provider of compliance and supportive services to housing and commercial developers. BTN Consulting is a 100% minority-owned firm headquartered in Brooklyn and works throughout New York State. Thank you.
It is the understanding of Brooklyn Borough President Eric L. Adams that one of the reasons Community Board 9 voted against this ULURP action was because it believed that a section of the community would benefit from retail opportunities that require much larger store sizes than are available in the neighborhood, and that the redevelopment of the Bedford Union Armory could have provided such an opportunity, though the proposal before the board did not set aside any space for such retail use. As the ULURP approval designated a commercial overlay for the entire site, it appears that the redevelopment could be modestly refined to accommodate retail tenants. Should financial and marketing analysis determine that ground floor retail would be an economically viable use, would EDC and BFC be willing to make such accommodations providing for such retail use? And if so, would EDC and or BFC be willing to make arrangements for the undertaking of such a financial marketing analysis?
Yes, we're happy to do that and to commit to study and pursuing that. And we can send a side letter to the Borough President's office to that effect.
At this time, I'd like to open up the floor for questions and comments from any members of the Borough Board or the representatives. Please remember, speaking to the mic, state your name.
Musa Moore, Chair of Community Board 9. Once again, good evening, everyone. As you may know or may not know, this has been a long journey with this project. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of meetings, a lot of negotiating, and so forth. When the project first came to the board, it looked totally different. And at that time, that's why myself and my fellow board members voted it down, 35-0. I'm very happy to state that this is a different project now. And I want to thank our council member, Lloyd Cumbo, for helping to spearhead the change in this project. Now, we're looking at a project with no condominiums, which was a sticker point for us. We felt those condos did not reflect our community. They are no longer part of this project now. We are looking at real affordability for residents who can actually afford to live here, that reside in this community now. So the project that we see today, we're much happier with. And we look forward to working with this team and the council member as we move forward to bring this project to life. I'm very happy to hear that EDC is willing to commit to doing a study, a survey of retail possibilities. In a lot of our communities, we lack basic things like a real quality, affordable food. You know, a lot of our communities, every other corner we have Chinese restaurants. We have, Crown Fried Chicken, things to that effect. So we can find a place where we can bring some quality food, some real fruits and vegetables that we can deal with the effects that a lot of our members in our community face with the diabetes, the high blood pressure. A lot of it is about the food they eat. So this is something that we look forward to working with this developer as well as our council member to look into this and study to see if this is something that will work here at this location. So as far as Community Board 9 is concerned, this is a different project. We're very happy with this project, and we look forward to moving forward with this project. Thank you.
Would anyone from the Borough Board like to make a comment? Please state your name.
Richard Flattow, Chair, Community Board 3. Will the project have a preference for Community Board 9 with the affordable housing?
So at this time, I don't know if we have a representative here from the Department of Housing and Preservation Development. In general, I'd say, and with this project, it's certainly the city's intention to reserve 50% of the affordable units for residents of Community Board 9. My understanding is that there is ongoing litigation about that policy, and so to the extent that we're able to do that, we would certainly look to do so.
Do we have any other questions from the board? Please say your name and the.
Hi, I'm Sam Shimon. How are you? I have a question. Regarding the parking, it's a beautiful site. You really feel 100 parking spots would be enough for that magnitude building? Would be 100. How many parking spots? 118. 118 would be enough for such a beautiful structure?
So we requested a waiver as part of our land use action, waiving a parking requirement for only 7 spaces to comply with the zoning regulation. The site is in very close proximity to public transportation, and we expect that the majority of residents and users of the facility will rely on public transportation to access the space going forward.
And regarding the 99-year lease, with this huge complex, with a huge piece of land, how did you come up with the number of how much you charge per month or per year?
Sorry, what was the question is based on what, how
99-year lease,
ground,
right? The city got to make some money, right? 99 year, are they going to pay property tax on this building? Are they going to pay rent for the, or
they'll
they getting
pay
the land for free?
No, they're not getting the land for free. They're paying ground lease payments, and they're paying taxes. They're eligible for certain as-of-right benefits that they could apply for with the city, but otherwise we'll be paying pilot, and they would reflect taxes.
Just also to note that because a lot of the mission of this project is very affordable recreation, so that if you're charging the developer more, it makes it harder to deliver the affordable recreation. So you have to look at the affordable recreation as additional. In lieu of taxes per se, the ability to make the recreation affordable is also part of the equation.
Do we have any other questions? Do not be shy, please.
Hi, Janice Morgan, Community Board 16. I just wanted to echo the concerns that the borough president raised around the retail space. Just knowing also that CAMBA is involved in this project. CAMBA has a pretty robust small business services program. And so the fact that the project lacks retail is sort of a mismatch of the work that CAMBA is doing and you know, the neighboring communities. If you're training these small business owners to go out and be productive and, you know, build thriving businesses, the fact that this large project doesn't even create some sort of incubator space around retail opportunities for those small businesses to have an opportunity to reach the public, that is concerning. And so I, you know, encourage you to definitely consider space for those entrepreneurs, because they can't really afford on a startup basis the rents that are being charged in other projects. And so these are the opportunities that really create, you know, an opportunity for them to actually thrive in this, you know, very, you know, tough market.
Right. So I think you touched on a couple of points there that we're all trying to pursue. One, whether or not retail is possible in this space, we're definitely going to look to study and to the extent possible make that happen. But beyond that, we definitely look to CAMBA and the other members of the development overall, the tenants, to provide those services and help bring a lot of training and other programs that they have to this community. And beyond that, also look, I know it's something that some of the other local elected officials are very focused on, but also working to try and procure as many services as possible at this project locally to support those business owners in the community. So looking to see as many different avenues as we can pursue to try and support those small business owners.
Thank you.
Najani Granville, Chairperson, Community Board 9.
Are you all,
Excuse me, Community Board 8.
excuse me, Community Board 8, I'm sorry about that. Forgive me. About a few years ago, you all, the Armory on 8th Avenue and Park Slope was redone. And we were given a tour of the facility. And part of what we were told was that the Armory usually has tunnels that go underground. Are there any tunnels with this particular Armory?
There are no underground tunnels in this armory that lead anywhere.
Okay, I was concerned because if there were, then that would be a homeland security issue. So I just wanted to ask that question. Thank you.
I did have a question.
Please state your name.
Oh,
and
Joy
board.
Simmons, representing Councilmember Inez Barron. And I did have a question. The retail, was it specifically incubator retail or retail for, I mean, obviously it would be small businesses because of the small space, but we're talking, when I say incubator, I mean a not-for-profit enterprise that actually incubates businesses, including minority businesses and disadvantaged persons who are not able to afford it. I don't know who would be the best person to answer that, but I'm just kind of curious as to when we say retail, is that specifically incubator or not? I don't know.
You want to answer, Musa? What the board wanted, since you're representing Board 9, or should EDC?
I'll answer it for you. So what we envision here is looking at 10,000 square feet to turn into more of a supermarket, place where you can get real good quality food for this community. Like I said, the majority of places we have are, yeah, exactly. Small corner stores, fried chicken places. We have an associated, but with a project like this, we see the opportunity. You're bringing all of this into the community. You're going to attract a lot of people here. So why can't the community also receive a place they can go and do some real shopping for some good food, from quality foods? So we're looking at 10,000 square feet. That's what we've been talking about, and turn it into a supermarket for the community, which is something we desperately need.
And just a comment.
Sure.
If Councilmember Barron was here, I'm sure she would want everyone to know that she had not been in support of the project overall, because with 40% market, 36% at 60% of the AMI is not affordable to people who are low income in New York City. And so this is a tool and an impetus for gentrification. So we wanted, if she was here, she would want that to be on the record, I'm sure. So that's it. Thank you.
So just to Cesar Zuniga, Community Board 7, just to kind of piggyback off of Ms. Simmons. Obviously, Crown Heights is a neighborhood that has been rapidly gentrified. And can you speak to, besides some of the stakeholders that you mentioned, and Canberra has a great reputation, can you speak a little bit more about what's going to happen to get real penetrating community involvement, particularly from longtime low-income residents of that neighborhood? Because typically, like, I consider most of us around this table the usual suspects. We're involved, we know, we have information, but given the scale of this project, I do believe that, real capital C community engagement is required. So just, can anyone speak to what else besides what you've highlighted you're going to do to get more community engaged into this?
Sure. One of the things that we worked on with Councilmember Cumbo over the last few months through the ULURP process was committing to a community advisory committee that would work with Canva and our nonprofit users. I believe we proposed a 13 or 14 member board with representation from the community board, the local elected officials, members of block associations, and members of recreation and other social service providers. These organizations and the advisory committee as a whole will provide guidance to us and Canva as an operator to make sure that the recreation components and the offerings that our programmers are providing are meeting the needs of the community, and give the community a voice through an organized structure that they could reach out to.
I'm sorry if I may say one more comment. Sam Shimon, I heard you speak about 10,000 square feet of supermarket space, and they talk about study. Again, I don't know what's in details, but a lot of times it's better to get this done before the pen signs the paper, because afterwards you can study all you want, but if don't have to do it, it's different. So maybe it's good consideration to right now make all the decisions and put contingencies in black and white. Because whatever they promise you today, it's different. Tomorrow the building gets sold to somebody else, and the new owner goes, I don't know what you're talking about, I didn't promise you nothing. So it's very important to get whatever is agreed upon in black and white before it goes forward. Because a lot of things, it's a beautiful site, huge site, one of the biggest sites in Brooklyn. And giving it for somebody with just, prime real estate in New York City, Brooklyn, with no more land. So just think about having the whole thing done, your idea and your study. His study may take a year, and you don't know his answers.
So I'd just like to correct a couple things about that. One, the site will not be sold or turned around and sold to anyone else, because this is going to maintain under city control, and the city will be leasing it to BFC. So it is up, and EDC and the city will be both holding BFC accountable to ensure that the study is completed, as will, I'm sure, the Borough President's Office and the council member and others. And EDC serves at the pleasure of the city, and certainly will be ensuring that we uphold all those commitments that we will be putting into the side letter. And everything that we do in general is dealing with all of these same parties. And so it wouldn't be something where we would be looking to go back on any of our commitments. We have a long history of working together, and I think that we will pursue this along with Community Board 9 and the Borough President's Office and the council member.
And there was a slide earlier that showed the building that showed 2 floors of community facility space, approximately where the horse stables are today. And so you're really talking about the lower floor of what, for the moment, was to be community facility space. You're talking about not the highest price point rent. So the study is not going to necessarily need extremely high rent to be proven to be able to be implemented. It's really about replacing the income that might be rented from a community facility space. So it's not a tremendous reach in the scheme, if we could get some interest in this particular location.
Do we have any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I have one other question.
Please state your name.
Richard Flatteau, Chair, Community Board 3. I didn't see anything in the papers we got that had what the total project cost was, so could you just tell us that? And also, how are the payments in lieu of taxes going to be calculated, and do you have some approximate number for what the payments in lieu of taxes will be?
So your first question was the total
project cost.
Total development cost is approximately $210 million. And then the pilot payments are effectively, we are permitted to seek any as-of-right tax abatement components that are available to any developer for any development site. So we would most likely seek 421A for our both rental buildings. So I don't know what that real estate tax number would be now. It would be based on the land basis of the current value of the project or the land value, and we would benefit from as of right 421A tax abatement. So in other words, no special treatment in terms of real estate tax payment. We would qualify for as of right tax abatements that any developer developing a project with affordable housing on it would benefit from.
So right now, you'd have to pay taxes at whatever the assessed rates are then?
Correct.
Do we have any other questions or comments from board members at this time? Okay, so we have 3 people who signed up to speak. Do you still want to speak? We have, all right, so Jeffrey Davis, who's the district leader for the 43rd, you're waving your right. Okay, Floyd Rumar. Is he here still? Floyd? Would you like to speak? Sure. Please take a mic.
I'm Floyd Rumor, Executive Director of the Brooklyn Community Pride Center. And I'd like to say that this project has been a long time coming for us. We've been looking for a permanent home since our 2008 inception. And this site will represent a permanent home and will release significant capital revenue from the Brooklyn Borough President's Office. And finally, we will have a home of our own. While we will remain in our current home at Restoration Plaza, we are already outgrowing it. And as some of you might know, the LGBTQ+ community has been battered by the current political environment, and the needs of our community are only growing. And I would urge, if you're on the fence about this project, to support it. It's very important for us and the other community partners who will be inhabiting the space. I'd also like to thank the following council members who've been stalwart supporters of the Brooklyn Community Pride Center, and they include Brad Lander, Carlos Menchaca, Councilmember Lori Cumbo, thank you, Lori, Jumani Williams, Stephen Levin, and though not a council member, BFC Partners has been incredible through our growth process, and I thank you from the bottom of our hearts on behalf of the LGBTQ+ community of Brooklyn. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next we have Rachel Bird. Would you like to speak over here? She's from Public Utility Law Project.
I wasn't actually planning to talk to this particular item, though I was intrigued to learn about the energy facility that's being developed or considered. So we'll be interested in talking about that. I mostly came to introduce the Public Utility Law Project, and I'll be very brief. People have rights when it comes to their utility service that they don't know anything about.
I'm sorry, I have to ask
Sorry.
you. It's my business.
That's, I asked when I signed in.
Okay, but they made an error, so we're sorry, we apologize.
My apologies.
No, my apologies, we made an error on our end, but thank you.
But we are interested in the
Okay, new business. Thank you. So we will now discuss the resolution for the lease of the city-owned property at 1555 Bedford Avenue, BFC, and related affiliation. Richard?
Thank you. So there was a draft resolution that went out late yesterday and supplemented by a resolution that was circulated today. There'll be one additional change to that draft resolution. So in the fourth whereas, it would read that BFC and EDC have agreed to take steps regarding the potential for retail use on the President Street side of the development. And this is all based on the letter that's been talked about. We'll have a letter formally before that, before this resolution would actually be transmitted. So this resolution now would, again, be supported by this letter from EDC and BFC regarding the accommodation of the retail use along President Street. And so if there are any other members of the Borough Board or representatives have any final comments or questions on the proposed modification of this draft resolution, let us know. If not, this would be the resolution we're voting on.
I want to thank all of you for going through this process with us. This has been a experience, to say the least. I just want to, for myself, this is, on a personal note, this has been a project that's been very important to me. And I appreciate the level of input that the community has put forward because it's made the project better. And as Musa Moore, the community board chair, stated, this is an extreme difference from what the project originally began as. And some of the things that I'm really very proud of is that this project is also going to include a set-aside in the housing. 10% of it will go to those that are formerly homeless that will be transitioning into permanent housing, and that was huge for me. When we talk about the affordability, we went from a project that had 20% of the units affordable to the community to 60% of the units having affordability, and that's low-income housing for those making for a family of four, between $22,000 a year and $57,000 a year for a family of four. So while some may not consider that affordable, that was also a challenge to even come to that number, because that means that a school teacher and a police officer or a transit worker and a mail carrier, they're not going to be able to afford to live in this development because they make more income than the affordability ranges. And those individuals have a right to live in our community as well. So if you're a teacher or a firefighter, you should be able to live in our community and in our district. So part of the challenge was that where the affordability landed, it didn't incorporate individuals at that income level, but yet there's still an outcry that there's not enough affordability, or the affordability that's there is not enough for the Crown Heights community. So that's an arguable point, because at a certain point you have to get to some place. And the reason why we came up with these numbers are because there's so many projects that are being built now that are above 60% AMI, that go all the way to 110 of AMI. So we thought that this was not only a compromise, but that the other 40% of market rate housing that exists as part of this project was done so in order to create the dynamic for the community and recreational center to always be supported, to always have a source of income. Since I've become a city council member, every year there are a series of community centers, senior centers, and daycare centers that are always on the budget chopping block that we have to make sure that we find the resources for to support. The way we've structured this project is this recreational facility will not have that annual challenge for the life of the project. And that's something that was very important to me. I was also very proud that the retail component, or the ground floor, which is now being discussed as far as Brooklyn Medical Plaza, which would provide affordable, low income, and insurance for those who are uninsured to utilize the Brooklyn Medical Plaza as part of their healthcare facility. Was extremely happy about that. This is also going to have a strong component for our local schools, from Medgar Evers Preparatory High School to the W.E.B. Du Bois Center, which we're fighting to save in its existing community. This is going to be a space where our young people will be able to utilize the Bedford Union Armory as far as recreational facilities. And as far as the not-for-profits go, the square footage, $6 a square foot compared to market rate, which is somewhere between $25 and $30 a square foot in that community, is going to be game-changing for not-for-profits. Often when we talk about gentrification, we fail to discuss the not-for-profits and the community stakeholders that have been in our communities for a very long period of time. This is also going to protect them. And I'm very proud that the Crown Heights Local Development Corporation, that's been in the business of providing low-income housing, particularly for our seniors, will also participate in making sure that the housing that's provided, that there's outreach to a question that was asked earlier about how will we outreach to the community. And the Local Development Corporation, who's been doing this for generations, will head up that particular process. So, you know, when I think about, you can think about all of the dynamics, the housing, the not-for-profits, but when you actually visualize, and I guess that's how I see things, when I visualize a family moving into one of the developments that's making between $22,000 and $57,000, how that's going to change their life and create the foundation for someone to have a family. Because as we know, the number one reason why families break up is because of economic issues. And so for our ability to create that, for us to study the opportunities to have retail space there, to be able to create over 720 jobs for construction, to have MWBEs participate, to be able to have transitional housing into permanent housing for our formerly homeless, to have 250 units of low income to affordable housing. I mean, this is the biggest project to ever come to Central Brooklyn. And when it opens to the public, this is something that we're going to be able to feel proud of. This is something that we're going to be able to have to say that we are part of the legacy of creating more affordable housing in Crown Heights than that community has seen in decades. And that's why this is important to me. That's why I had a challenging city council primary, general election, pregnancy, whatever else you want to name on it. It was a challenging year, but I did that because this project is too important for our community, and it's too important for us to allow politics to get in the way of that. So I thank you all for your support. I thank you for everyone that has shown up, added their voice, made the project stronger, debated, and put forth challenging ideas that made us come up with a better project. And that's where this is. So I thank you again. Thank you. Okay, last time, any final statements? Okay, so thank you, Councilmember. I want to also thank John Valadares from BFC, John Corcoran from EDC, and of course my colleague, Richard Berrick, for being available tonight to help with the presentation. So I would like to put a motion on the floor. I would like to have a motion placed on the floor, to approve the lease of the city-owned property at 1555 Bedford Avenue, BFC or related affiliate or related affiliations. Could someone please make the motion? So moved. Could you speak into the mic?
Sorry about that.
Thank you, no problem.
Kalman Yeager, and I move the motion.
May I please have a second?
Musa Moore, I second.
Okay, so Community Board, 9 members, members of the City Council and Borough President Adams' office are eligible to vote. Keisha will call the roll, please.
Community Board 9,
Yes.
Councilmember Lori Cumbo,
I vote aye.
Councilmember Inez Marin,
Vote no.
Councilmember Cordy, Councilmember Heim Deutsch,
Yes.
Councilmember Rafael Espinal,
I vote aye.
Councilmember Matthew Eugene, Councilmember Justin Brannon, Councilmember Calvin Yeager,
I vote aye.
Councilmember Brad Lander,
I vote aye.
Councilmember Stephen Levin,
I vote aye.
Councilmember Alan Mizell, Councilmember Alika Ampry Samuel,
Vote aye.
Councilmember Menchaca,
Aye.
Councilmember Antonio Reynoso,
I vote aye.
Councilman Mark Traeger,
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Abstain?
That's the roll. The motion passes.
Okay, the absences, we have 5 people were absent, 1 no, and 10 yeses, so the motion carries. Well, I counted the absences as a 10. All right, so the motion carries. So I want to thank you. That will conclude our business related to the lease of city-owned property at 1555 Bedford Avenue. Do any members of the Borough Board or the representatives have any unfinished business? Okay, so we do have one new business item. Come forward, Ms. Rachel Bird. Now's your time. And we want to welcome you. Would you please take a mic? Please, we're going to ask the Borough Board members, let's give Ms. Bird a little bit of courtesy. It'll take 2 minutes. we want to thank EDC and everyone else for coming. Ms. Byrd, you can address the board. Please come forward. You can come to the podium if you want.
Well, thank you, and much appreciated for your time. I represent the Public Utility Law Project of New York. We're the only statewide organization whose only purpose is to help low-income people with their utility issues. We operate on a policy, advocacy, and litigation basis, and we do educational work for and within the council districts and the community districts. So we train vulnerable representatives of vulnerable organizations who deal with the public so that they have the information of how to deal with your utility problems. And there are rights that nobody knows about. So I have cards. We are available at utilityproject.org. And thank you for your time.
Okay, so do we have any questions? No questions? So we want to thank you for your time and for coming. I just want to point out, at our last Borough Board meeting where some of you weren't present, Brooklyn Chamber made a presentation and they talked about a project that you'll hear more about, where we're going to invite each community board to come into Borough Hall and to meet with members from the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce so we can look at an overall plan to help with the redevelopment, I guess, of East New York and Brownsville. It's a strategy session. We would like to have the board managers, I believe, attend, or either a chair of the Economic Development Committee. So you'll hear more about that from our office. But I just wanted to bring it up because some members were in the meeting a month ago, and I wanted you to know that you didn't forget. We spoke to them the day before yesterday to remind them, so we'll have that meeting soon. Okay. Do we have any other new business? Nothing? So again, I want to wish you all a happy new year. I want to thank you all for coming. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday. Sorry, I know Wednesday's better for you, Al. But on Tuesday, we're back to Tuesday, February 6th, 6 p.m. Please be on time. May I have a motion to adjourn today's meeting? I need somebody, a name.
Kalman Yeager moves to adjourn.
And may I have a second?
Some more seconds.
Okay. May we have a vote? All those in favor? All those against? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.